Good morning, everyone. It's Monday. My name is Belinda Weaver, and I am very excited to be talking to a couple of Confident Copywriting members this morning. Last Friday, I chatted to 3 members who were from the UK. Today, it's the USA special, and it's all leading up to my Confident Copywriting group opening on May the 6th. Confident Copywriting is my private coaching group for aspiring and working copywriters to take you from potentially seeing copywriting as the thing you want to do to move you past quitting your day job, getting you all the way to the goals that you want to reach, whether that's a 6-figure business or to have more time to spend with your family and your hobbies. You know, that little thing that we have, a life outside of work. Confident Copywriting is all about building your skills and your confidence, not only as a writer, but as a business owner. And I'm talking about confident copywriting a lot. There's a fantastic free webinar coming at the end of the week, but I thought it would be useful to hear the real life experiences from members. So today I'm talking to Tracie Patterson, Reid, and Melany Tenore, and I'm going to be asking them a series of questions. And if you have questions, I would love you to put them in the comments. I'm going to be watching the comments. You might have to give StreamYard permission so you're not a grey face, but if you want to hear about what it's like in the group from members, hit me up in the comments with your questions. But first, I'm going to bring Tracie on. Hello and good morning, Tracie.
Hello. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I think we're kicking off the Monday with a bang. So firstly, introduce yourself to everyone, and if you can share how long you were a copywriter before you joined Confident Copywriting.
Yeah. So I am Tracie. I write sales messages for those who don't want to feel icky, but you still want to make bank. And I have been, so pre-you, I was a copywriter for about 7 months. So not that far before, because I'd done like some agency work and then fell into your world.
Oh, I love that. Makes it seem almost kind of whimsical. So what were you looking for when you were joining a group like mine? Like, what were you on the hunt for?
Yeah, so I belonged to, so I learned about copywriting as kind of a type of writing, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So I knew I wanted to write sales messages, and I wanted it to be ethical, and I wanted it to be better. And then I learned that was a thing called copywriting, right? So despite the fact that one of my degrees is in marketing, like so many of us that have this story, we didn't know that that's what that was. You know, we knew copywriters as people that write jingles and ads, you know, as opposed to like now I tell people I write the wordy bits of marketing.
Yeah, I have to ask, like, what's happening in marketing education that we can come out with a master's degree and go, copy what?
Yeah, I'm like, huh? Yeah. I'm like, I'm the copywriter with the W, not just the R, you know, like not the legal kind. I write the wordy bits of marketing. Yes.
Yeah.
So I knew I wanted to write sales messaging. I knew I wanted it to be better, you know, and not creepy and icky, but I didn't know exactly how to do that. So I came upon this whole concept in this entire world. And one of the beautiful things that we have learned and that we know is that when you really start to look at just one thing, everything opens up, right? And so you learn that copywriting isn't just one thing, it's several. There's all these industries, there's all these types, there's tons and tons of things into it. So I had started down that little rabbit hole on my own when I had come across you in your daily drafts, your DD emails.
Yep.
And then of course, Hot Copy podcast. And that was like and I was like, oh, okay, this is that kind of copywriting, not the kind I already knew about. I want to do this kind. And that was how I learned about your group, because I was trying to find people that were up leveling as well. Mm-hmm. And that were going into like the business side. And I wasn't a freelancer, I was a business owner. And that was something that mattered to me because of my corporate experience. And because I knew like I had a different foundation. You know, I have, if that makes sense. So the resources, the guidance, all of that kind of stuff that you had were beyond compare to anything that I'd already found.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
it
it
sounds like
fits.
I was going to say, you look wanting that shortcut that could give you the credibility and the strong foundation without you having to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, because it's like, I knew business, but now I had to apply it in a whole different area.
Yes.
I was no longer in corporate. I was now in the corporate of me, right? So it was like, okay, now how do I take all of these things that I know, all of these things that I've trained for and gone to school with, and now how do I do that as myself?
Yes.
And then how do I take this this whole skill level and really, really level that up and really ramp that up, and then do that with people that are also doing the same thing.
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
Getting into that space of learning and improvement can be so helpful.
Exactly.
So what is a win that you've had since you've been in the group? Yeah.
There have been many. The leads have been great. So if those of you who don't know, she drops leads. We all drop leads to each other. So those have been great. It's been great to have a place to learn and a place to have honest yet constructive freakouts. You know, yes. I have been known to drop a meme or two of just curling up in the corner like, this is going to be okay. I'm going to make it. You know, and we all get each other through that, right? Because it's you need to have a space to still like do that in a healthy way, you know, and because like there's so many groups where it's like, oh, you're not allowed to say if things are going wrong, you know, you're not allowed to have a bad day, like that toxic positivity. And it's not like that in this group. In this group, it's like if things are going wrong, say they're going wrong, and then we'll still fix it together. You know, we still can like be honest with where we're at and how we're feeling, and still be triumphant with where we're at and how we're feeling.
Yes, 100%. And because often our partners or our families, they don't really get it, and that's okay. But that's what we need to do.
Or they're tired of hearing about it.
Yeah. That is so true. That is so true.
Right? Yeah, because it's like, okay, every single time something happens, I'm like, okay, I chose this. I decided to do this. This was my choice. This was my choice. You know? Yeah.
I can get through this. Oh, that's awesome. I like that you love that about the group, because that's definitely one of the things. And I love that we have conversations where we're like, some of the conversations are, I just need to put my feelings here for a little bit, and then we're all going to move on. And some of them are questions where people have said, this is great to be able to have this kind of open conversation about this without worrying about what other people will think, because that's a huge part of how we interact in groups.
So much so. And it's been really great just meeting all the people, you know, all the people that are on like different parts of their journeys. And then again, it goes back to those different types of copywriting and then those different industries. Yes. So even though we all have the same title, we all bring so many different things to the table, you know? So I've learned about other groups. I've had so many like different connection points. And when I was thinking about this, I was like, you're the Kevin Bacon of copywriting. It's like all roads lead back to Belinda.
I love that. I'm taking that. I'm having that. Excellent.
It is so true. Yeah, the 7 degrees of separation, and it's you. It's because like so many people that I've met at other things, I'm like, and they're like, oh, I know her. Oh yeah, I listen to her podcast. Oh yeah, I read her stuff. Oh yeah, she taught me, you know. And it's such this communal thing then that we have in common in a safe space.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to take some time to process this whole idea after we've talked. But I want to bring Greg on. So thank you, Tracie. I will shoot you down in a nice way. I just mean out of StreamYard. And then I'll talk to you in a minute. All right. All right. So Greg, hello.
Hello.
Hi. So Greg,
add to that.
That's all right. We got a lot of questions coming. So but firstly, introduce yourself and share how long you were a copywriter before you joined the group.
Okay. I was trying to figure that out. I've been in content writing for about 9 years, and I've started to skew more towards copywriting for about 4 years before I got into Confident Copywriting.
All right, cool. And so what kind of copy do you write? Who do you write it for?
I write. I'm in that weird space between copywriting and content writing, right? I tend to focus on creating downloads and lead gen items like ebooks and white papers and things. But in the process of doing that, I've had to learn how to write landing pages and how to write email sequences to sort of flesh that out and sort of bring people to actually download the content. So yeah.
I love that you've started off here, and it's just you're looking at those concentric circles of services where you can keep adding value, and that's how your business evolves over time, which I love.
Right.
All right, so what were you looking for? What was a challenge that was happening that triggered you into looking for a group like Confident Copywriting?
I did a lot of agency work, so again, it was sort of the mix between content and copy, and I discovered that there is a real difference between the two, right? Content and copy, and I sort of just wanted to learn, the sort of the business side of copywriting. I've had some other resources where I've learned how to do like, okay, here's the hook, and here's the problem, agitation, solution, formulas, and templates and things. But I wanted to learn the business side of copywriting, like what's normal. Is it normal to have 2 or 3 rounds of revisions, or what happens when this happens? And I wanted a place where people can just sort of, I could just figure out what other people were dealing with, and how they were sort of getting through their day. Because I'm a firm believer in the thought that to a 4th grader, a 5th grader is a genius, right? And you can just learn. Everyone is at a different point in their journey, as Tracie had said, and it's okay not to know everything, right? And
yes.
But again, it's the business, the whole behind the life behind the curtain, right? That's what I was looking for when I joined.
Awesome. And what's a win that you've had since being in the group? And is it like, it could be a revenue win, a client win, or just a general feeling that you have?
Well, I've got a couple. I've had, as mentioned earlier, there were a lot of referrals passed back and forth, and I've had 2 that in the year that I've been with Confident Copywriting, I've had 2 referrals that have covered the cost of membership, right? So you can't beat that, right? And I've also learned a lot from like your templates for scope of work and contracts, things like that, where it's a lot easier to sort of go into these things and make sure all your bases are covered by using your templates.
Yes. Get caught short a lot less often, and things tend to not go off track. I love that. And something that you mentioned is when you're tapping into some industry standards, and it's one thing I love about the copywriting industry is if we all are raising the bar on expectations and boundaries, then we're all just making each other better. We're making the whole industry better as a whole, which is a brilliant shortcut, and it's great for the industry.
Right. So a lot of times you work with people who have never worked with a freelance writer before,
Yes.
and there's someone who's on the review team that, oh, I wrote a hell of a paper when I was a sophomore in college, that kind of thing, where, they think that it's an easy thing that just rolls off the tongue, and it doesn't. It's a learned, it's a science as well as it is an art.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. Thanks, Greg. I am going to bring Melany on, and then I'll bring you on the end for our little Brady Bunch style Q&A. All right, and if you have questions, for the people watching, ask questions of these members and their experience, just pop them in the comments. Hello, Melany. How you doing?
Hello, good. How are you?
Excellent. This is a great way to start Monday. I'm already feeling very energized, especially after the Kevin Bacon reference. But before we get into it, so beat that, Melany. Before we get into it, introduce yourself, what you do, who you write for, and how long you were a copywriter before you joined Confident Copywriting.
Yeah. So my name's Melany Tenore, and I was impressed that you got my last name right, Belinda. Most people say Tenore.
It's the least I can do.
I hear an echo. Is that me? Do I have something? Oh, it's gone now.
No,
okay.
I can hear you. Yeah, cool.
Okay. So I started copywriting really just about a year ago. I've written a lot. I've done a lot of blog writing for myself in different capacities. I had a couple blogs way back when, but about a year ago, just probably right around the time the pandemic hit, trying to stretch my creative muscles a little, felt like I had some time to start learning some new skills.
Yeah. Well, the
So
world went.
yeah, exactly. I write primarily, I don't have a specific niche as far as the type of copywriting I do. Really, I don't do a lot of conversion. Like, I've never done an email funnel, but I do a lot of kind of, as Greg was describing, content that then also requires some copy. I do work primarily with businesses in health and wellness. A lot of vegan and plant-based businesses is kind of my thing.
Cool.
Yeah, and
you have add-on services as well, because it's not, you said content and copy, but you have a much more strategic consultancy role as well.
Yeah, so about 6 months ago, is when I joined Confident Copywriters. So, and I did it because at that time I was a full-time health IT consultant, and because our world was changing everywhere, the company I was working for started changing. So I actually was unexpectedly laid off about 6 months ago. And it was really one of those nudges that I needed. At the time it was shocking and all that, and you go through everything in your head, and then
all the feelings.
Yeah, but I very quickly was like, well, I've been doing this side thing that I actually love. Could I make this work on my own? Right.
Yes.
And so I did, and that's when I joined Confident Copywriters, and it was primarily to have a community, because I knew I would miss having some people that were my people, in the industry that I was working in. And I had been following you and, reading your emails and podcasts and anything I could get my hands on. So joining your group was at a time when I was really trying to cut expenses and see how to make it work. This was the investment I knew I needed to make, and it's been great. And I think that kind of leads into your other question about add-on services. One of the things I gained through joining your group was that confidence with my business and my setup. And as Tracie said, I really wanted this to be a business, not just a freelance work. I needed goals personally. I needed income goals. I needed bigger things than a few odd jobs here and there. And so I have really found that support through Confident Copywriters. I job leads have been great. I do have, one monthly retainer that I've gotten through the group, pays for, the group every month and then some. So yeah, so it's a no-brainer for me, but then also the confidence I've gained led me to, after talking with several of my clients who are mostly small businesses starting up, they started saying things to me like, well, I wish I could just talk to you every day. You clarify things so well for me, and they'd say, well, how would you do that? And so I said, I should be offering some consulting services as well. That's on top of my copy. So I've started expanding my services. So with my copy, I'm still doing, working with the steady stream of clients, but then I'm bringing in this other section, and so much of what I've learned in Confident Copywriters applies to that segment of my business as well. The setup, the systems, having your terms and conditions in place. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad. And it's so exciting to see that business evolution. And I'm really excited to see it happen relatively quickly as well. Like where you've actually, I'm not going to slave away doing work for not very much, because I need to earn my stripes. I'm going after what I want. And actually, I'm going to let my business evolve sooner rather than later. And I think
it's been, it's a mindset that I had to get straight, because I could look at it as, oh, I just learned about copywriting a year ago, or I could look at it like, like, oh, I've been a professional for almost 20 years now and have all this experience. And I didn't know what copywriting was, but I've been doing this a lot in all my positions, right? And so I decided, hey, I know what I'm doing. I feel confident about it.
Excellent. Great.
Right. So it's been good.
Oh, that's good. I'm so glad. Well, you kind of answered like all those little questions along the way. So I appreciate it. But no, it's perfect. Job easier. All right. Well, I'm going to bring everyone back on, and we're going to do Brady Bunch style. So thank you very much. Now, the question, I'll go with you, Tracie, first. What would be a resource that's had a really big impact for you? What would like favorite resource?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I can't like pick like one, but I love how you have like deep dive lessons inside the membership. Because I love me a deep dive, and then I love some frameworks and templates. And what I do with those is it gives me a peek into how other people think.
Yeah.
So it's not about a copy and paste. It's about understanding the why behind the how.
Yes.
So I can then decide what I want to do and how to make it my own, right? And sometimes it's like, oh, okay, I like that. Let me try it on and see how it fits and then kind of finesse. Other times it's like, oh, I don't like that at all. But now that I know I don't like that, then that means it's spurred an idea for what I do like.
Yes.
You know, and you don't get that until you see how other people do things.
Yes.
You know, so there's those kind of things. And you have that mix of you know, the lessons and then the resources and then the things that we share with each other too.
Yes. I was just thinking that what I love is often when we talk about a process, I'll say, well, here is a way that the process has worked very well for me. And then I love it when other members go, oh, do you know what I added in? Or do you know how I adapted that? Or when I had this shitstorm happen, I changed it in this way. And it's like, awesome. We're all making each other's processes a lot stronger. I'll never have all the answers. And so I love how everyone at all the different levels of the community really boost each other and share just so generously.
Yeah. It's all about up leveling in that appropriate hive mind, you know, that communal hive. Yeah.
We are the Borg and we're awesome. Melany, what about you? A resource that stands out for you?
Yeah, I've really taken advantage of things like the terms and condition examples that are shared in the resources. I mean, that stuff is just boring to me, and so to have it already kind of here, you know, here's most of what you need. Yeah. And then the other thing, and I mentioned in our one-on-one, having a community, I just, you know, I love our monthly chats. I get so much from that, just getting to know some familiar faces, you know, that I can actually pop into you know, I have a couple people that I don't even need to post a message to the whole group because there's things that you want, you know, 20 people's input on, and then there's things that you just want to quickly run by maybe one other person. And so I have those people now through this group that I can send a message to, and they can, you know, share some thoughts with me. So I love that.
And I know, you know, on Friday when I was chatting to Helen and Carrie and B, that we brought up this idea of like a few people have found their business besties in the group. And I love that. I really love that.
Yeah. I've been trying that with a few people. I'm like, will you be my business bestie? And so far they're, let's switch.
And, you know, I saw something recently. I think it was Amanda, case study queen, sharing something and tagging a few people. I was like, oh, look, you're tagging each other. Why didn't you tag me? I want to be tagged. But that's just me being selfish.
Yeah, but it's cool because you do get to know, and this is something we hadn't even talked about, you know, there's so many copywriters in the group, but everybody kind of does their own, you know, specific thing. And so you start knowing like, ooh, I need to have a question about, you know, sales pages. Let me hit up Tracie. Let me, you know, and it's neat because it's all so different, and yet we're all in the same industry.
Yeah, that's awesome. Greg, what about you? Do you have any, like a favorite resource or a resource that really had a big impact on your business?
Again, the scope of work that I mentioned earlier piece. And I think the biggest part of that is managing expectations, right?
Yes.
You really need to understand how things work, and you need to understand that not everybody knows how that works, you know. And sometimes, I think a lot of times copywriters or content writers have been brought into a project. Okay, here you go do, right? Whereas with the scope of work and some of the other resources, you learn that, wait a minute, I do know strategy, you know, or I'm learning strategy from my group members, and that's you. I don't think there's anything bigger than managing client expectations and
Yes.
keeping thing on, because if you all expect the same thing, the greater chance you're going to have success, right?
Yes, and it's something we talk about a lot. Like customer satisfaction is tied down to expectations being met or exceeded, or not at all. And as I said, you've saying, Greg, we talk a lot about being the project lead, leading the way, and helping clients not feel anxious about what's about to happen, because they know what's going to happen because you're telling them.
And the other resource that I found really helpful was instant traction. I think no matter what level you are or where you're coming in to the group professionally, I think either instant traction gives you something new to think about, or it sort of reaffirms what you already know. So I found that very helpful when I first started.
And just for everyone watching, instant traction is a little mini course when you join Confident Copywriting, and it goes through having a big, hairy, audacious goal. It goes through figuring out, how to differentiate yourself. It goes through how to write your bio. And the big one, of course, is how to set up what's your minimum hourly rate? What do you need to factor into? What's the formula? And how do you actually use that to backtrack and plan out financial goals? So that's something, as you said, Greg, you should be checking in with pretty regularly to see how what you're saying and what you're using in terms of numbers meets the evolution of your business. Because as you go through the stages, of course, your business changes as it should. So thank you very much. I love that there are really helpful resources, and I look at them as the best shortcut, the shortcut that didn't have in the olden days. Copywriting when I was getting into it. So what would say 3 words to describe the vibe of the group? Melany, I'll do you first.
The 3 words, I think I'd go with professional, but not in a stuffy way. It's just that I think I'm a part of some free groups, which are great and serve their purpose. But with this group, you're not going to get somebody who pops in for a day and says a bunch of stuff and then you never hear from them again. It's everybody who's building their business and are serious about the work. Supportive. It's not. You can, it's a safe place, and knowledgeable. Like I said before, there's so many different experts in so many different areas here that you really have a lot of brains to draw on.
Oh, I love that. Excellent words. Tracie, what about you?
Friendly, uplifting, and up-leveling.
Nice. I like those. Friendly, uplifting, and up-leveling. Okay, perfect. And so let's break down uplifting. I want to break into that. What does that mean for you?
It's down to, like being supportive of each other. And then it's like, as everybody shares each other's wins, it's like, oh yeah, you want wins too, like in a good way, right? It's like you're all spurring each other on and you're all excited for each other. And then it's like, oh, they've had success with that. What's my version of that to try? Or I know it's great that they've done it, but I know I don't want to try that. So what else can I try to also be successful? Like you get lots of different things, and then it doesn't matter if we do the same thing or if we do different kinds of copy, everybody is there for each other.
Yes. And that's why I really love that choice of word, because this idea of lifting, we're all helping each other get better, which makes the industry get better. But I love this idea that you don't have to bring all your stuff. You don't have to have it figured out. You don't have to pretend to have it all together, and that we're all just trying to get ahead in whatever way is meaningful for us. Because a lot of the group, there are kids of different ages, there are no kids, there are travelers, there are, there's lots of reasons why we don't want work to be our only thing. But we all love what we do, right? And so it's a huge part of it. So we want to make it work. We want it to be profitable, and we want it to be successful. So I love the balance of like life and ambition, But I really love that choice of uplifting. So thank you, Tracie. What about you, Greg?
I came up with empathetic, real, and worthwhile.
Great
And the real part is really important, I think, because I grew up near Boston, so I tend to swear like a sailor. And you in particular, Belinda, with the Australian thing going, it's not only funny, and you have fresh material to share with others, but it shows your level of comfort, right? And it shows that you're sort of letting it all hang out, and you're being real, So that's a hugely important piece.
I love that. And the other part of it is, like, my daughter just came in, and that's what happens on coaching calls. There are pets and there are kids, and it's like, I got to go to bed, or I'm having a drink, and it's just that really comfortable space where we're like, this is what's going on in my life, and I'm not going to pretend to you guys that this is not happening, because we're all figuring out work and life, and especially during the pandemic, things are changing, and so we have to be real. Otherwise, what's the point?
Right.
Oh, that's so good. Excellent. And the reason I asked the question about the words is that, and I love this, Confident Copywriting is obviously not the only group in town. And when the people are looking at their options, as they should, you look at things like, how much is it? Those are often, we're price sensitive first. Then we look at, what do we get? Like, what's the stuff? And often the groups will often offer pretty similar-ish things. And it might come down to the vibe and the feeling and the community. And that is the real differentiator. So that's why I wanted to get your take on that. And I love that, Tracie's mentioned community. I think you've all mentioned the community. So I wanted to wrap up by saying, and that's probably a very leading question. I've seeded the idea of community. But what's your favorite part of the group that keeps you coming back when you do have other options? And you don't have to say community. So you can say stuff. I just love the stuff, Belinda. Greg, do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, I really, it's a tie between the Facebook group and these live calls, because it gives me exactly what I'm looking for in terms of the business side of copywriting. We do have, like, we were saying how it's real and everybody's sort of empathetic and they understand each other and we're willing to give each other space, but it's all focused on copywriting. It all comes back to the business and the creativity and the reason why you go to a copywriting group in the first place. Yeah.
Awesome. What about you, Melany?
Yeah, I don't have anything very different to say, but I love the interactive Zooms that we do, or whatever forum we're on. I like getting to actually talk to people. I think so many of us work from home and are isolated, and we have our people this way. And, I love it. It's not competitive at all. It's so supportive. And, I think, Belinda, you had mentioned the other day, maybe in a post, but, one of our Confident Copywriters announced on our last call that she had just given notice to leave her full-time job, and everybody cheered and was so excited for her. And, so just seeing people hit those individual goals they set and then celebrating with them. That's my favorite part.
How crazy everyone went on the call when Erin announced that lifted me up for days. And I agree, the calls for me are really energizing. Just the way everyone gives so much, and just having time to chat to people, it fills me up as well. Awesome. Tracie, lucky last.
So I'm a dipper, I'm someone who will, like, dip in and out of things. When I need something, I search for an idea, or, if I need help and then I consume it, I implement it, and then I recycle it, right, to help somebody else with what they need. And that is so easy to do with this group. It's so easy to help people, whether it's like each other in the chats where you're like, oh yeah, I think I remember this being in this part of the membership portal, or whether it's on Clubhouse, or whether it's, in a DM with someone, right? It's like, there's all of that. But to the community point, every single community, it doesn't matter whether somebody has a community manager, an admin person, or token people thrown in. The tone is set by the leader. And, you show up authentically, you show up fun, and, and you really like bring that aspect there. So that way we do want to. I actually help as like a Facebook ads coach, and I don't go to Facebook. That's just not my thing. If you want to catch me, hit me up on an Instagram DM or, a Clubhouse. But I will go into the Confident Copywriting, Facebook group. I check in there. I post things there, not any of the 56 other groups that somehow I belong to, and that's the kind of thing. It's like you can be fun, you can be professional, you can just kind of be there and show up there. And that kind of experience and that kind of tone and those kind of expectations are set by you. And that space that you hold for us to be what we need to be, and we all appreciate that as well.
Oh, I love that. And that's exactly the vibe that I wanted to create as well, where everyone gets to be real. Let's have some fun. Let's enjoy the journey, but let's hit some goals as well. So you're all saying all the right things. I appreciate it. No prompting required. Well, I want to thank you for your time today. Is there anything else you wanted to add before I let you all get on with your day? You don't have to, because you've all said a lot of amazing things. Is there anything that's challenged you in the group or anything like that? Spitballing.
One thought I had as Greg was talking through like the scope of work document, it's funny because every time I've looked at something in the resources and thought, well, I don't really need that. I've never had that issue with my clients. Like, that means that I'm going to have that issue with my clients within a week or so. So I've found that interesting. It's just the nature of your business growing.
Yes.
Like, you might join and think, okay, a lot of this doesn't apply to me, but it will. I'm slowly finding that out, that all those little things are there for a reason. So
yes.
That is so true. Like, there's been things where I'm trying to figure out what to do next, and I search our group and I see what the people just 1 year ahead of me or 2 years ahead of me, what path they took, and who else they learned from and what else they did. And it's like, oh, okay, I was thinking the same thing. I must be on the right path.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's just kind of like seeing all of that, knowing that. Yeah. But
I was just going to say, I love being around people who are a couple of steps ahead as well, like that kind of fourth grader, fifth grader analogy, because you can see what's coming. You can have a shortcut to get where you want to go. And for me, it's thinking about things that wouldn't have occurred to me until the world was, everything was on fire. So I love that kind of like, oh, trap. Aha. I wouldn't have thought about that. So that's a really helpful part of the group.
And the last thing I'll say for everybody watching, this is going to be my anniversary, this intake. So I want to know how many of you are going to come join.
Hell of a call to action. Look at that. I love it. Yes. I have been keeping an eye on the anniversaries coming up, prepping to send some lovely messages. So that's awesome. Happy anniversary. All right. So I'm going to let you get on with your day. Thank you so much. Now, if you are interested in chatting to any of these members on the screen, Tracie, Melany, Greg, their bios and their websites and their contacts are in the description here. I haven't actually cleared this with any of you, but I'm just going to say, reach out, ask questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I want to thank you for joining me today to talk about your experience. I do really appreciate it. So I will say goodbye. I'm going to keep talking about the group a little bit, but I'll see you obviously in Confident Copywriting a bit later.
Okay. Thanks, Belinda.
Cheers. Bye. All right. So another 3 members talking about their experience. So let me just do something whizzy. Here we go. Confident Copywriting, which is my private coaching group that we've been talking about, is opening up on May the 6th, and it's going to be open till May the 11th. And that's when you can join our copywriting crew. Now, there's a lot of stuff in the group. And if you're on the email list, the invite list, you'll be getting emails about this. And I'm going to be talking about it a little bit more. But basically, when you join, you get access to the instant traction course that Greg mentioned. And this is just quick wins to help you set a foundation. But it's more than that, because there's actually a quiz when you join to figure out where you are on the Confident Copywriting roadmap, because there are different stages. You start off as an aspiring copywriter. You become a working copywriter. You then move to becoming a growing copywriter, and then a scaling copywriter. And at each stage in the roadmap, you should be focusing on different things. And so when you join, you actually get a checklist according to which stage you're at, to say, these are some things that you need to tick off before you can realistically progress to the next stage in your business. And then we have the Instant Traction course. And there are things like the Copywriter Starter Pack, which has so many templates. Basically, it's a kickstart to your copywriting business so it looks super profesh, right? Proposals, discovery call templates, terms and conditions, copy deck template, my briefing form. There is also follow-up emails. There's a mega email bundle. It's like 6,500 words, because you have a project checklist, every single step in a project from that first inquiry to project wrap-up, and every email you need to send along the way. So when you join, you get all this stuff. And then, of course, every month, every week delivers a new thing with a group coaching call at the end of the month. So it's a mix of templates and resources about writing and about business. There are live events, there are group coaching calls, and I get guest experts in. I don't pretend to have all the knowledge. And so, coming up in June, we're talking about emails. We've got Iman Ismail, who's a CC, this Confident Copywriting graduate. She's going to be talking about emails. We're going to talk about welcome emails and re-engagement emails and mapping out sequences. And then July, we're going to be talking about scaling. Right? How do you come up with products and services to scale your revenue? Then we're going to be talking about building a team, hiring a VA. Then we're going to be talking about, right? So that's how the months go on. Sometimes there's a theme and sometimes there's not. But a lot of the different resources hit different stages of the roadmap. So Tracie mentioned the dipping in and the out. Dipping in and out. That makes more sense. That's because not every resource is going to be relevant to where you're at, but it's all just this growing database. And so you find out your stage, you get your checklist, you dip in and out of the resources, but the community, oh my God, they're amazing people. But I want to tell you about, if you want to get on the wait list, here is the super long URL, copyrightmatters.com, Confident Copywriting waitlist, and you can get some news and details about the group. But I'm going to be opening up on Friday, thank you, my love, and I'm celebrating with a Path to Profit webinar. I'm going to be running this webinar on May 6th, 7th, and 8th, the same webinar live 3 times to show you what you need to do to earn 2K a month, 5K a month, and 10K a month. Because as I've said, you need to focus on different things. You need to do different lead generation. You need to have different products and services to book different clients and different projects in. But there's also different mindset challenges. So I'm going to be doing that webinar at the end of the week. And this is how you can register. Just go to copyrightmatters.com. If you go to the learn option, you'll see the registration page there. And then that's when the group will be open as well and you can join. But if you have questions, let me know. You can contact me. You can contact other members, of course. Their contact details are in the description for this. And get some real talk for them. But they will... a lot of the things that they've said today, you'll hear as recurring themes. And if you go to the waitlist page, there's a whole lot of video testimonials at the bottom as well. And you can hear members talk about what they love from the group, what they're getting from the group while they stay in the group. And you'll hear words like kind, safe, non-judgmental, fun, useful, supportive, right? That's what you want from a copywriting group. Now, I'm going to wrap it up for today. If you want any more information, drop it in the comments. If you have questions, drop it in the comments. The group opens on May the 6th. And as Tracie said, will we be welcoming you in there? I really hope that we do. But there's lots of great stuff happening this week. Talking to more members tomorrow and then the webinars at the end of the week. very excited. So I want to say thank you to Tracie, thank you to Melany, and thank you to Greg for joining me today. And I hope you have a wonderful week. Cheerio.